Hello, everyone. James Dobson here, your friendly neighborhood realtor. And this is my March newsletter. We're going to be reviewing the February stats, and some pretty interesting stuff is starting to take place. So let's jump right in. All right, so first you can see the header here, turning point for real estate market is confirmed. So I want to sort of preface that by saying there's a larger, more systemic pressure on the real estate market in the form of interest rates. So, when you raise interest rates 400%, it's obviously going to remove some people from the real estate market. All right, so we'll put that on one side. Just recognize that that is a pressure on the real estate market. However, on the other side, you can make the argument that everyone has to live somewhere and things can't just stop when things get more expensive. So, with that in mind, on a shorter time frame, we are starting to see people become more accustomed to the higher interest rates and things are starting to move again. And that's first outlined here. So you can see that months of inventory is dropping and it's now down to 2 months, which historically is pretty common. On the other side, we have sales to new listings. And this just means of all the new listings that come on the market, how many of them are selling? And you can see that that's gone up to 57% from a low of somewhere around 40%, which is good. Things are moving again. So you can see again, Toronto active resale inventory. When inventory drops, people get a little bit more competitive. When inventory is at very, very low levels, that's when we start to see these crazy bidding wars, which I don't think are particularly good for a sustainable market, but they do happen occasionally. All right, so this is what everyone wants to see. Price. So you can see that for the first time since the February peak, we're starting to actually get a rally in prices, which is great news. It just gets people a little bit more optimistic and hopeful for the future, which honestly I think we all should be. Even though interest rates are high, which puts a lot of pressure, things will return to normal eventually. How long will that take is the big question. It's looking like inflation is coming down. And if we continue in this direction, it's not unrealistic to assume that we hit our target by maybe Christmas of this year and we're back on track, back to more normal times. So you can see again, sales are picking up, seasonally adjusted. However, for the month of February of 2023, so this is comparing February of 2023 to all the other Februaries, going back to 2006, it's still very low. And that's sort of what I was saying on the bigger theme that now that interest rates are so much higher, I don't expect that number to return to 5,000 or 6,000 for maybe another year or two, just until interest rates come back down again. So that's new listings. So you can see minimum of discount 5-year fixed and variable mortgage rates. Okay, for all my renters out there, rent prices are edging up again slowly. They're a little bit all over the place. Obviously, in the long run, rent prices go up, just as real estate prices do. We did get some relief during the pandemic, which was nice. A lot of people were moving, locking in newer rates. I think that time is, for the most part, behind us. So if you're looking to rent, the sooner the better at this point, I'd say. New construction. New construction is fascinating. It just got obliterated, obviously, when prices started to decline. So the best way I could explain new construction, it's mostly used for investment purposes. The reason for that is you buy it and the timeline is anywhere from like 3 to 7 years, right? If you're buying that, it's because you're not going to live in it for another 3 to 7 years. So a lot of investors buy pre-construction as a way of just parking their funds. And it's great because it's incredibly highly leveraged, which just means you don't need a mortgage when you buy a pre-construction because there isn't any unit to finance. So what you're doing is actually just giving a small deposit to the builder as a show of good faith. Like, I will get a mortgage and I will close on this. And if I don't, you keep my deposit, basically. And so when the market goes up, pre-construction goes up even more. To be honest, I don't know why that's the case. It just is. If, real estate appreciates at around 7 or 8% a year, pre-construction will be at 10 to maybe 13% a year. and you're getting that appreciation on only your deposit. So you're getting the appreciation on the purchase price, but you've only paid the deposit, which can make this an incredibly profitable investment. I'm not going to get into it anymore, but if you are curious, let me know. I'm happy to connect you with an expert. So new construction versus resale price difference, that's always interesting. You can see percentage-wise what new construction, what you pay, the premium you pay for new construction versus resale, which is funny because back in the day, I'm talking about a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago, pre-construction used to be discounted to resale. It used to actually be cheaper to buy something that wasn't built yet for obvious reasons, but now it's the opposite, which I always find interesting. So it's nice to see the correlation between them. So that's mostly the real estate related stuff. If you do want to continue, we're going to get into some more macro related things, unemployment, inflation, et cetera, et cetera. So savings are down. Well, savings are up, but down relative to the pandemic, which I always find interesting. Credit card liabilities back up to our sort of linear trend. Money supply, that's an interesting one, but it can get pretty boring. The only thing I'll say is that more money in the system, which is what M2 measures, is just the amount of money in the system. The more money in the system, the more inflation, asset price inflation you get, for obvious reasons. The more money, same amount of things become more expensive. And of course, if you haven't heard, tons and tons of new people coming to both Canada and Ontario. We get about somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 people a year, and roughly half of them come to Ontario, which puts a huge demand burden on our real estate, which is both good and bad. And that's it. This one kept it pretty short. Usually I'm at around 10 minutes. But as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love to talk about this stuff, and see you next month.